Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the co-founder and CMO of New Media Expo, Dave Sinkin.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming. Did everybody have a good day? Day one, we're almost at the end. You had a good time at New Media Expo? Well, hey, thank you very much for coming. We want to thank our sponsors. Without the sponsors, this event would not be this nice and would not be possible. And of course, we want to thank our gold sponsor, Ford. We've had a great relationship with Ford over the years, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. Our silver sponsor, .me. Our bronze sponsors, Overblog, Guinness Black Lager, WordPress, Military.com, WeCare.com, BlackBerry, Live Lab Digital Network, US Army, and Technorati Media. So I took some notes here. I have a lot to say about Ford. I mean, we're really passionate about Ford. My business partner, Rick, told you this morning that he grew up with Fords. I grew up with Fords. We have Ford families. As a matter of fact, I was delivered to kindergarten in a Ford Mustang, and I'm an auto enthusiast, ex-racer. I drive a Ford Mustang today because it's a car that gives me lots of performance at a great price, and it has back seats for the kids, so I love that. But beyond being passionate about working with a company that produces cars that we enjoy, we're especially proud to be working with a company that makes it their mission to lead globally in connecting with customers and listening to customers, engaging through social. With Ford, I mean, it started back in 2008 with Alan Mulally working with Scott Monty. Alan's the CEO of Ford, and he was answering questions from customers like you on Twitter way back then. Ford created a customer portal called the Ford Story, where you could all share your stories, share them with the Ford company, and share them with the community. And Ford started inviting bloggers to participate in new product launches with the Fiesta Movement program and escape routes, both introduced at Blog World and New Media Expo past. And they've really made it a mission to do something that's so important for customers, that listening. And this community, all of you, we've contributed to the design, the eco-friendly materials, and the fun and the performance of the Ford vehicles that get released on the market in recent years and the ones you see today. And a prime example of what your voice can do is that Ford Fusion outside. The sister to that car, the Ford Fusion Hybrid, that's a sexy sports sedan that gets 47 miles per gallon. It's pretty amazing. Well, if you don't know Scott Monty, he's not only the global head of social for Ford, he's also really a social business pioneer and a friend of ours, and we love working with him. He's going to talk to you, he's going to share with you some of the conversations that the community's been having with Ford and Ford with you recently, online and offline. But before that, here's a little word from Global CMO of Ford, Jim Farley.
Well, hello everyone, this is Jim Farley from Ford. A lot has changed in the last year. Blog World in LA, now New Media Expo in Vegas. Oh boy, we have arrived. Well, I'm really excited to kick off the keynote today because, well, we've made a lot of progress at Ford, and I want to thank all of you for your suggestions over the last year to help Ford make progress. We launched the Escape Routes, which is actually our own TV show, so not only are we really diving into social media, we actually are back-ending it back into old media, which is an ultimate compliment to everything you guys do. And we had a Fusion, Random Acts of Fusion, which went really well. We're excited to ask for help with some celebrities like Ryan Seacrest, and Ryan and the team did a great job promoting Fusion and actually teaching us as a company how to up our ante and up our performance in social media. The most important thing we continue to learn is listening. Listening and adapting. The conversation always changes, but it's always there. I'm really excited for the launch of Ford Social. Scott's done a great job really putting together not only a conversation that will always go on. It's not part of selling a car or promoting something new, but just talking with consumers or people that are interested in Ford about what's changing, about the lifestyle of owning a car or just, you know, having one in the family. I've seen so many interesting things on social, and I think, frankly, it's one of the most important ways I stay connected with customers. The other thing that's been really interesting is Ford's been invited more and more now to work with our media partners, all of you, bigger brands like Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, and I'm really proud to be on the Facebook Client Council because I think I could be a voice and also learn something as well. I think that's the biggest thing, is just how the conversation continues to evolve. The one aspect of social that I'm trying to get my head around more and more is mobile. I think that's the next step for us because that mobile device is private, almost like a piece of jewelry. You only should be there if you're invited to be there. But it is the main way we access social media as consumers now. And we have to think about how we, even a big company like Ford, interacts with all of our customers and friends and be part of that conversation that happens mostly more and more on a mobile device. Hope you guys have a great exhibit and a great session, and I wish I could be there. Unfortunately, we're designing some new crazy program that'll blow everyone away. Take care and have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ford Motor Company Global Head of Social Media, Scott Monty.
Dave.
Take it when you go.
Wow, what a crowd. I didn't know we could fit this many social media experts into one room. Quick joke to start out the session here. Hey, how many social media experts does it take to change a light bulb? Anyone? The answer is, what's your budget? The other answer is 4. Mitch Joel to take you through a 6-step process of unboxing the bulb. Chris Brogan to write a 100 blog post series on the process. Lauren Feldman to do the puppet animation. And CC Chapman to actually get the job done. Well, as you can tell, we are honored to be back here, our 4th year in a row at New Media Expo. And having the support of a leader like Jim is so important to us. He gets it. He fundamentally understands it. And he may not be out there as an active practitioner himself. He does a lot of lurking. He does a lot of listening. But having his strategic and executive support for everything that we need to do is so important. So I just want to set the stage for you here. We had hoped to make a big program announcement here, but because of some delays in just planning and some of the vehicles that we've got coming out, we're going to be making that announcement next month. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and make it a little fun, all right? And I don't want this to be a giant Ford infomercial. I mean, obviously, that's what we know most about is our own progress, but what we want to do is share some of those with you and give you some video examples of that to really keep it lively. But we also want to draw out lessons that you can take away, whether you work at a small business, a large business, on the client side or on the agency side, that are kind of universal human truths to help us find our way through the social space right now. And as Jim said, we're always listening, and we want to learn. We're here as active practitioners learning just like you are, because I don't think anybody has this all nailed down. So we would like to hear from you, whether you want to use the NMX hashtag or the specific Ford NMX hashtag for this session in particular. We're going to do some live Q&As later on, give you a chance to get up to the microphones we have here and ask some questions. And we have some surprises in store. But first, I'd like to take you back to 2009, 4 years ago, which seems like just eons ago at this point, when we started with the Fiesta Movement. We were bringing a global car to the market. This car already existed in Europe, and this was part of our One Ford plan that was bringing global engineering and global design to all of our markets. And what we needed to do was first make an impact in the small car market, an area that we weren't really known, and we had to make a connection with millennial buyers, people who really didn't care about us, who stopped listening to us because, A, they trust people like them, not a big corporation, and because it's so noisy out there, we were lucky if we had their attention. So what we decided to do was to look at the things that mattered to them. We couldn't use an old media-style campaign, so we looked at the things that mattered to them. They were interested in co-creating content, in real-time engagement, events and other activities, and online content that really mattered to them. And that's what we pursued. And for our message to really have that kind of credibility, we actually needed them to help tell the story. So we gave 100 cars to 100 individuals all across the country for 6 months. And we asked them each month to perform one mission. All they had to do was create a single video for us. And it was a theme: travel, adventure, entertainment, etc. Right? And ultimately, they're out there tweeting and on Facebook and on YouTube and Flickr and everything, doing their own stuff anyway. So this was just part of their existing lifestyle. And they had to have a hand in the creation of that content. If you look at some of the studies, these are just more recent studies, but they really bolster exactly what we're talking about. An Edelman Berlin study that said 67% of millennials believe it's their responsibility to share feedback with companies. And we were getting feedback from these Fiesta agents, as we call them, as they were bringing the car to the market, which we actually gave to our engineers to improve the car in its next generation. Okay? They also want to feel like they're giving input to innovation that actually leads to something, demonstrating that we've heard them and that we're taking their recommendations seriously. And the Fiesta Movement was built to exactly address all of those features. So as I said, they were all on unique missions, doing their own thing, and we documented it on fiestamovement.com real time. Unscripted, unedited, untouched. Their content went up there, whatever they had to say. We had the ultimate confidence in our product, and we had to, in order to turn it over to them and let them tell our story. And that's how trust was built. Ultimately, we saw over 6 million views of their videos over that 6-month period on YouTube, 750,000 views on Flickr. Remember Flickr? They're making a comeback, I know. But this is in the pre-Instagram days, and that's why it's a whole separate mindset at this point 4 years ago. But ultimately, we got 130,000 people who came to Ford and said, I want to know more about this vehicle when it actually comes to the market. Over 8 out of 10 of them had never owned a Ford before. We were attracting a really new demographic, new people who had never been interested in Ford before. And 30% of them were under the age of 25, which told us it's a different demographic that we need to figure out how to deal with. And if we want them to be on this journey with us for the lifetime of their car purchasing life, we have an opportunity in front of us to continue to foster that relationship. So, the takeaway lesson here for us was, if you have a good product, let go of your fear and let others tell your story. And quite frankly, if you don't have a good product, spend your time trying to fix that and to fix your service before you go and fix your marketing. Because you can have the best marketing program in the world. If you have a piece of crap product, it's going to show. Right? But creating that kind of relationship where we gave up control and let them tell our story was so important. So let me tell you a little bit about the evolution of a site we call Ford Social. It actually started back in 2008, at the height of the carpocalypse. We were in Congress with a couple of our domestic competitors, pleading the case on behalf of the entire U.S. automotive industry. We weren't there to take any money ourselves, but to show our support for the industry. And we had to differentiate ourselves. We didn't have a platform on which to do it. So over Thanksgiving weekend, a number of us got together and put this site together to tell the Ford story. And that worked well for a while, but once we got beyond that crisis moment, that inflection point, we needed to help expand the story beyond just what our plan was and what we had been doing up until that point. So we wanted to give people an opportunity to follow the things that Ford is continuing to do and how we're doing amazing things that the public might not know about. Right? But we realized that something from this site was missing, that we wanted to get the voice of the customer in there. We wanted people to tell their stories, right? Again, acknowledging that people trust people like themselves. And we wanted them to tell their stories on our platform, right? So we created a Your Stories section. And beyond that, we went and invited our fans. We kind of took a page out of Dell and Starbucks playbooks and asked our customers and fans to tell us how we could be improving our products. Right? We say we want to make the cars that people want and value, but how do we know what they want and value if we're not listening to them, if we're not giving them an opportunity to tell us? Right? But sometimes it's not quite so straightforward. We found over the course of having this site open and our product planning team going in there and looking at the suggestions that came in, over 4,000 suggestions, that we were already either implementing or in the process of implementing about 40% of the ideas that were coming in. So directionally, we're doing okay. And I don't know that the world's ready for a flying car yet anyway. So, excuse me, given all of that content, that it was much more of a hub than it was just the Ford story, we actually rebranded it last year, calling it Ford Social. And I love the story of Nana up here, 71-year-old grandma who bought a 5.0-liter V8 Mustang to race her grandson, right? Doesn't get much better than that. We can't invent stuff like that. There are thousands upon thousands of great stories like this out there because people engage with stories, with things and items about people with whom they can relate, right? So what we've done in the evolution of this site is we've added badges. You may have noticed the back page of your program with this graphic on there. We have all sorts of badges, not because we're trying to emulate Foursquare or Empire Avenue, remember them? But because we're trying to give people an opportunity to identify the content that matters to them. And in doing so, raise a hand to us to say what kind of communications we should be having from them. Nobody wants to drink from the fire hose. They don't need the full feed if it isn't relevant to them. Let me give you an example. The racing and enthusiast fan may be interested in the Mustang and the ST and Ford Racing, et cetera, but they may not be interested in Ford's electric vehicles. Our electric vehicle owners, on the other hand, may have some Mustang envy, so they may want to get that other content, but what we're doing is giving people choices as to the content that they can consume and giving them some kind of context around that so that it's more relevant to them. So to further improve on that, when we've got people who are on the site, who have logged in, who have identified themselves as electric vehicle fans or hybrid fans or what have you, and as they're commenting on the site, we see who's active. We see who's an advocate of Ford, and we give them opportunities to join us at major events. Next week in Detroit, we've got the North American International Auto Show, our industry's largest event. We're hosting over 150 bloggers from a dozen countries, including people from Ford Social, to thank them for being part of telling Ford's story. And what we found is that when we give people opportunity like this, when we grant them a level of professionalism, they behave in a very professional manner. And these scrums that you see around our executives are now happening with bloggers and video podcasters just as much as they are with traditional journalists. And of course, we give our Ford Social fans an opportunity to do some fun stuff too, like follow Vaughn Gittin Jr. or Ken Block around at some of the events, like at SEMA, for example. But again, it's rewarding them for being part of an active community. And for us, the takeaway here, how could I forget? We actually gave Robert Scoble and Sam Levin a C-Max hybrid just on Saturday to drive from Northern California down here to Vegas for CES. Sam and Robert are both Prius owners, and they were very plain-spoken about their comparison of the C-Max and the Prius. Some good, some bad. But we recognize that these are influencers who may go beyond just the casual fan or advocate who, as Brian Solis likes to say, have an audience of audiences. And we're continuing to, this year in particular, work on an influencer relationship management system that'll help keep those relationships alive, help us track the content that they're coming out with, and help us target the right people to bring to amazing events like this. But ultimately, the lesson, the takeaway here is that for us, it's not about these campaigns. And even though the campaigns are, really important in terms of spiking interest, we have to always be on. It's about committing to this, and once we're there, we have to remain there. So, in terms of actually launching a vehicle, and in this day and age, we realized this a couple of years ago, we have to really change the game. And there was a vehicle that we reinvented, the Ford Explorer, completely rebuilt from the ground up. This was a vehicle that invented the segment of SUVs. And we realized if we're going to relaunch it, we needed to completely throw away the traditional process of revealing a vehicle at an auto show and do it on our own terms. So what we decided to do was to own the day. We wanted to go directly to the public, not just to the media, as we do at auto shows, and we wanted to showcase this new vehicle specifically to them. So rather than at an auto show, we decided a random day in July, in 8 cities simultaneously, and on Facebook, we would reveal the 2011 Ford Explorer. And that way, we'd have the day to ourselves. We wouldn't be competing with 40 other announcements from automakers. We could own the day, and that was what we were tasked with doing. So we were very transparent with our fans about it. In March, we let them know what our plan was. We let them in on our secret, and we brought them along for the journey. We teased photos. We showed them videos. We gave them interviews of the team, the people behind this vehicle that were so transformative in making it happen. And we built up a lot of excitement for it. As I said, a bunch of cities at the same time on July 26th. And then on that day, we had a variety of content choices where they could engage with us. They could choose when and how and where they could interact with us, giving them content choices, okay? We had a very, very tightly integrated process with the earned media team and the paid media team. We actually got the digital marketing team to bring up their advertising spend, which was projected for December. We got them to move it up to July and to spread it across those months rather than to wait, so our media wouldn't have to work as hard. We put all of our earned media support against it at the same time, and we just had this whole confluence of activity on that day. We had likes all over every single piece of content, which, again, now doesn't seem like rocket science, but this was early on as Facebook was making these changes. And we figured the more likes people saw around this content, the more that their friends would see it. Actually, our communications manager, Jay, was so active from March until July as a community manager, even though it wasn't his job, that people would go onto the page and ask for Jay by name because of the level of engagement that he had there. So again, you see all these faces. People are interacting with other people on the day of the reveal. And ultimately, we had some homepage takeovers with that classic Learn More button, the green button, which would take you to Ford.com. And there you could do a build and price, design your own vehicle. But you could also see all of our Facebook content coming out. And the other button we have on there is a like button, which I will tell you that at the time, Facebook's lawyers did not like having their button on a Yahoo ad. But when we convinced them that we were actually giving traffic to their site, and it wasn't a functional like button, it was a pass-through, they understood. And what we saw, because when you went to Facebook, you could see all that Ford.com material as well. And all that great interaction with Jay and the team and the videos and the faces of Ford. And the results that we saw were pretty staggering. We were actually the #1 trend on Twitter that morning. We were the #2 trend on Google for the entire day. The only reason we were the #2 trend is because that was one of the days that Lindsay Lohan was being admitted to or released from some facility. You can never compete with the entertainment world, folks. And no, we're not going to recruit Lindsay Lohan to drive one of our vehicles, because we all know how that goes. But we had about 100 million social impressions. Again, this is 2010. Different era than what we're looking at now, but still very impressive. 400 million impressions on browsers. We reached over 60 million Americans. There was a publication that actually said that we did better than had we decided to take out a Super Bowl ad, which was pretty vindicating for our team. But here's the one statistic I want to focus on. The people that went, remember those homepage takeovers? The people that went first to Facebook and then went to Ford.com to do a build and price were 1.5 times more likely to complete that action than people who just went to Ford.com alone, showing that that interaction, that human element, that engaging content really mattered. It was a very, very significant win for us. And ultimately, the takeaway here was stressing the importance of earned, owned, and paid working together. It isn't enough just to be working in parallel and knowing that, the marketing team is working on this, the PR team has that, and yeah, we'll get there. You really have to bring the two teams together. We're going to revisit this in just a little bit because it's something that I think even we need to remind ourselves of. So, we grew a little more confident in this space, and we realized that people need to hear about more than just our products and more than just our story. They do need storytelling, but they need us to think less like a product company and more like a traditional media company. How do we think in terms of storytellers? How do we think around personalities? How do we think around branded content? So for example, we actually had a campaign to introduce the new 2011 Ford Focus, a global vehicle. So we decided if it's an important global vehicle, you have to use a puppet, right? Well, the reality was the Focus at that point had become a national joke. People have obviously rented it. It was our bottom line vehicle for a number of years. People just stopped shopping it. And there were actually social groups organized for the dislike of it. So how are we to overcome this with, quite frankly, a beautiful new car that nobody seemed to care about or was even aware of? So we knew we needed to go after a demographic that wasn't the auto enthusiasts, wasn't the traditional people that knew all about Ford, but it was about a late 20 to early 30-something, mostly male demographic that had a certain kind of sense of humor, shall we say. And what we decided to do was create a series of web videos starring Doug, a spokespuppet that we hired, and his handler, John, and to focus on Doug's wacky personality, something that you would never see in traditional corporate videos. Let me give you an example as to what we're talking about.
Who wants a free ride?
All right.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 2012 Ford Focus.
The open road.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're a beautiful young lady.
Thank you. Oh.
Yeah. Are you guys an item?
I'm with this guy.
Yeah, we're dating.
So, you notice it's a pretty smooth ride, right?
It is.
Yeah.
As I am a smooth operator, right, Mari?
Easy, Doug.
So, I mean, where do you see this going? Do you think this is like a long-term thing, or is it just for fun?
It's pretty new,
don't
but
have to
it's
say that.
going
You don't have
well.
to say
I'm pretty happy right now.
Oh.
There you go. She's
But
pretty
you can
happy.
always be happier.
Can you do me a favor? Can you just not talk about our relationship?
I'm trying to talk about our relationship.
What are you talking about?
Well,
Our relationship between the two of you?
yeah.
Okay.
Leave that. You leave that part alone.
Okay.
Can you do that?
All right.
So it's just, I should just assume it's understood that we're having
Well,
a
you're
relationship.
doing a lot of assuming. A lot of assuming.
Can't parallel park itself.
Yeah, why don't you park your mouth?
Whoa.
The brakes are so good on this car.
Yeah, right? Handles really well. Handles really well. Let's talk more about that.
Let's talk about handling. You get me?
See, there you go. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
On topic. On
I
topic.
think you're being very disrespectful.
I beg your pardon, sir.
Whatever.
I wish I had a little glove. I would slap your face with it, and we would duel on the field of honor.
Let's not
I have to say I've never had two guys fight over me. It's kind
Okay,
of
that's not helping. That's
So a bit of a turn on, right? A bit of a turn
I
on.
mean, it's just kind of old. Kind
Would
of.
you shut up?
You are goading.
What?
You are making a bad situation worse.
You're a
All right. Hey.
I don't think
Hey.
immediately.
We are in a Ford Focus.
She said
We're
that.
gonna go get something to eat.
That's probably a good idea.
Thank you for the ride.
Oh, hey, thank you. Thank you. For
Lovely.
Focus 2012.
Lovely to ride with some of you.
I hope you have
So that changes the conversation a little bit. HR was not too pleased about this series, but the last time we checked, HR did not give advertising advice, so we went ahead with it anyway. But thank you. This mockumentary feel is familiar, and it should be because the director we used for this series was Paul Feig, who you may know from The Office, Freaks and Geeks, even a little show called The Big Bang Theory. So, you know, we kind of got that type of humor in place because that was the kind of demographic that we were going after, right? They speak the customer's language, these kinds of videos. So the product team is obviously really concerned about, well, how do we get the product features in there, right? Well, they'll make it in there, don't worry. But the web series is about these personalities. The car is the backdrop, okay, where we don't have to focus, pardon the pun, on the actual product itself. We acknowledge that we're selling to you, but we're also entertaining you at the same time. And really, it's about showcasing Doug's personality. I want to show you one other video on this one just to demonstrate how we managed to get the product features in there in a way that was consistent with Doug's personality.
I think that went really well.
Oh, I do too. I mean, I think it went well in the sense of, well, that was lame.
What are you talking about? People love the car. People, for whatever reason, seem to think we have some chemistry.
Well, I think what people thought was, why is that one guy trying to overshadow that other guy?
How am I going to overshadow you? You're orange.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Why do you even try?
I'm not trying. We're a team here, and I am trying to...
You are trying. Here's what you're trying. You're trying my patience. You know what? I'm done talking to you as a person, and now I'm going to use my finger to text you. I'm going to communicate with you through sync.
This is ridiculous.
And sent.
Please say a command.
Listen to text.
This is how it's going to be.
This is how it's going to be. You're just going to sit here texting me. You know what I'm saying to you, but I'm going to say it out loud. I say LOL. I am rolling on the floor laughing. I am ROFL.
Please say a command.
Listen to text.
You're a sad little man, living in a sadness cave.
Sad little man. You know what? Guess where you don't want to go? You don't want to go into the height thing, you orange hobbit.
Please say a command.
Listen to text!
Your mom likes hobbits.
We were 2 years ahead of our time on the whole Hobbit trend thing. I think that's great. Well, ultimately, what this helped us do was get a whole bunch of content views, but more importantly, we raised the number of fans that Doug had, not the Focus, but Doug had on Facebook. We increased favorable opinion by about 77%, and we actually increased consideration for people who would actually go out there and shop for the Ford Focus by 61%. And the reason that they're so effective is because people are engaging with him. Doug had his own Twitter account. We normally don't advocate campaign-specific Twitter accounts, but in this case, it made a lot of sense because Doug was the one engaging, especially with the ladies. He liked that. And they enjoyed the banter back and forth, too. And as I said, Doug actually got nearly 44,000 fans on his Facebook page, which was more than the number of fans that a domestic vehicle that the Focus was competing with even had on their own Facebook page. So our puppet got more fans than their car, showing you where people evidently put their interest. So the takeaway lesson here is that people engage with personalities and enjoy stories rather than just hearing about product features. And speaking of personalities, our latest one in this area is called Escape My Life, where we wanted to again, bring the escape in front of a new audience, help them understand what was going to happen. And in this case, it was the story of a Hollywood wardrobe assistant who finds that her Ford Escape that she gets from Ford actually comes with a string attached, an annoying Ford product specialist named Barry. And since the role of annoying guy from Detroit needed to be cast, I wasn't available. So we put this guy in place, and this is kind of how it all played out.
What's the catch?
I'm Barry from Detroit. I come with the car.
You work for Ford, and you're going to follow me around and tell me about the features of my car.
If there's peanuts in this house, I'll blow up like Brando.
Fit is a fiddle. I didn't go to fashion school so that I could babysit Shannon Doherty's dog on a yogurt commercial. Seriously, are you trying to ruin my life?
Hello, Hollywood. Choo-choo. Not so fast, Dustball.
Barry!
Mr. Doherty, it's too loud.
Kind of crazy, woefully brief, only 8 weeks long, but it actually came with a number of other platforms. I'll talk about those in a minute. But in terms of looking at what was said about it so far, Fast Company actually said that in acknowledging that how annoying it is when you're forced to watch an ad that's trying not to be an ad, these ad-based shows instantly become more accessible. And we got a loyal fan base. Paste Magazine actually named it one of its top 10 web series for 2012. And we highlighted other areas of content. So of course, the Ford Escape YouTube channel is where a lot of this stuff lived. But we also shared these episodes on Hulu, MSN, Yahoo, AOL, Glam. And we, of course, put stuff out on Facebook on a custom tab. But we also decided to enter the Tumblr space for the first time. Early in 2012, somebody from our team said, well, we need to get into Tumblr this year. Now, personally, I wasn't convinced that we should have just been chasing platforms. I figured if we're going to be in Tumblr, we need to be there for a reason, not just to be on the platform. And when the team discussed this and said, you know what, there's a whole backstory of what's going on here with Barry, and he's kind of zany anyway, that we could create a blog for him where we have additional content that helps tell the rest of the story behind the scenes. It might make it more interesting to people. And indeed it did. We actually have Sensei Barry's blog here, where we've got more than 12 million impressions. This in particular, this post about zombies got about 9,000 activities on it, likes and reblogs and whatnot. But this is an example of knowing our audience, knowing the platforms that work for them, knowing what makes content sticky, and how to promote the stuff that could potentially have a wider reach, such as zombies, because everybody loves zombies. So 1.5 million hub visits overall, and boosted favorable opinion of the Escape. What we learned from this is that we need to embrace the platforms that our audience uses, not necessarily hold fast to the ones that feel comfortable to us, but to perhaps break out of our comfort zone from time to time and use other platform sources that can help to boost some of our campaign performance. So getting toward the end here, our most ambitious and complex transmedia campaign called Random Acts of Fusion launched this summer. And it was, again, trying to introduce people to the all-new Fusion. So it featured Ryan Seacrest, Joel McHale, and Kate Micucci, and is built on the premise of crowdsourcing a documentary film. And what we've decided to do is to bring people into the story and to surprise them. Big acts and small acts. Could be Ryan showing up at your doorstep. It could be free coffee at your local Starbucks. But we wanted to capture a lot of those elements along the way, really going further than many companies have for their fans. Just give you some quick video highlights to help explain it better than I ever could.
Oh, hey, Joel. Ryan Seacrest.
You too? Do you see this? They're giving him 100 cars.
Well, actually, it's 100 all-new 2013 Ford Fusions, Joel.
Yeah, Fusions, months before they even come out, to tons of real people to drive them and experience them first. How come I never get to do stuff like this, even though I could do it 100 times better and taller than Seacrest? He's not going to be satisfied until he takes over the entire planet.
Okay.
He's like, Earth, Orion Seacrest production. Boom. That's called pointed
Joel,
social...
stop talking! Ryan is here to see you.
I have a delivery for a Mr. Joel McHale.
You mean the incredibly good-looking, wildly talented television star, Joel McHale?
Sure.
It's a trick question. I'm also in movies.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Oh, you want another autograph?
No.
$5.
I was just wondering what you were planning on doing with all of them.
Them?
Your 100 new Ford Fusions, sir.
Seacrest.
Joel.
3 questions.
Shoot.
First question, are you serious?
Dead serious.
Whose idea was this?
Actually, this was yours. I'm just making it happen.
Can I keep them all?
No!
Can I keep one?
No! And by the way, Joel, that was 4 questions.
He's right about everything.
Keeping you.
No, you are not.
So, gotta love a man with a pocket square there, huh? So there were about 12 million views of these 50 videos. We doubled the number of fans on our Fusion Facebook page. We found that people that were looking at the deeper stories, because these were videos that required a level of commitment, especially the documentary, they spent about 4 times as long on those types of pages than they did on some of the lighter content. And we got about 78,000 visitors registered to get more information. And while that was good, we wanted to do even better. And toward the end, we actually had an evening called Go Further with Ford Night. And the reason I put this image up here is this is an ad that Henry Ford placed in the Saturday Evening Post in January of 1925. And his vision was to create mobility opportunities for anyone in the world who wanted it. He wanted to make it apparent or possible for his workers to drive the very vehicles that they helped to build. And one of the takeaways of this great vision, which we're still executing today with affordable fuel economy and affordable technology for everyone, is, and I'll call it out, is the last sentence here. Ford Motor Company views its situation today less with pride in great achievement than with the sincere and sober realization of new and larger opportunities for service to mankind. Remember what Stan was saying today about giving back. And Henry Ford himself said that a business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. He believed in giving back to the communities in which we do business. It's something that is just part of our corporate culture and has been for nearly a century. So we decided to hold an evening called Go Further with Ford Night that Ryan's going to tell you a little bit more about.
Hi everybody, Ryan Seacrest here, and I'm back to tell you about the amazing finale that we've set up for Random Acts of Fusion. As many of you know, my friends Joel McHale and Kate McCucci have been sending people just like you out on incredible adventures across the country in all new 2013 Ford Fusions. Kate's been on the road filming it all, and Joel's been cutting the footage into a documentary.
The greatest documentary since they started documenting anything ever.
Well, the new 2013 Fusions are headed to dealerships everywhere. And to celebrate, we're holding a very special event on November 15th called Go Further with Ford Night. Not only will everyone finally get to see the all-new Fusion in person, but we've got some amazing activities planned too. First off, in the spirit of Random Acts of Fusion, Ford dealers will be making a special donation to local charities when people stop by and participate. That's right, you get to do something good for your community just by showing up. But the surprises don't end there. Everyone who comes will also be entered into a drawing to win the all-new 2013 Fusion.
And if that wasn't enough, learn how you can win a unique VIP experience on the next season of American Idol.
I promise you, this will be an event you don't want to miss. Let's Go Further with Ford Night, November 15th. Log on to randomactsoffusion.com right now for all the details and a list of participating dealerships. Don't forget to save the date. We'll see you there.
So you can expect to see more kinds of things like this as we get into the next phase, and this is where we get into the interactive portion of the keynote here. Going further is really what Ford's brand promise is all about. It's that we take more extraordinary efforts. We go beyond what the government tells us we have to do in terms of safety engineering. We really try to do lots of extra efforts to make sure that people know that what we're doing matters and that they matter to us. So we also learned something else with this program, that this wasn't one of our better recognized programs, quite frankly. People didn't discover it until its completion, or at all, quite frankly. And it was a powerful reminder that the social media space is just filled with more noise today than it really ever has been. And that we need to take that into account and focus on relationships in addition to paid media and in addition to content, and to bring them all together. So when we look at the lessons learned from Random Acts of Fusion, first of all, it was a complex program, and it was hard to explain to people. So simpler really is better. We know that people want to be part of something bigger than themselves. We've seen the impact from the Arab Spring and from Occupy Wall Street. People are banding together to have an impact. Could be a charitable impact, could be a political impact. It's really giving people an opportunity to come together for the greater good. But more importantly, we need to eat our own dog food. We need to remember that when we say using earned, owned, and paid media together, we need to execute on that ourselves. And frankly, I don't think we really did as robust a job with Random Acts of Fusion as we otherwise could have. So what we did is we actually launched phase 2, which we're calling Back At You. You may have seen the hashtag out there by the 2013 Fusion parked in the lobby. We're going to tell you a little bit about how Back At You works, and maybe we'll do a few Back At You things at you guys.
May I show you something? This is the 2013 Ford Fusion. Powerful, yet fuel efficient. Smarter than your smartphone and beautiful to boot. We are psyched about this car. Right, Dylan? Super psyched. And apparently, so are you. Vincent says the new Fusion is drop-dead gorgeous. Mark says our boring Accord is soon to be banished forever. And Michael says no V6? Big mistake. Get in, Michael. That's better. Anyway, everyone's been talking about the Fusion and we've been listening. And to show how much we appreciate your appreciation, we're coming to thank you. How, you ask? Well, maybe we'll run your comment through the mind of Reggie Watts.
The car's super hot looking for cruising at the beach. It's got the VIP looks for dining.
Or maybe we'll drop in on you with a little something unexpected. Not to mention a lot of other awesome stuff that we're not going to tell you about because it's a surprise. And that's what's fun about surprises, that we know and you don't. So thank you, America, for telling us what you think. And also, you're welcome.
So a lot of you have been talking about the Fusion, about Ford, about the presentation throughout the course of the day and of the last 45 minutes or so. I want to call out Michelle Price, who is Prosperity Gal on Twitter, who said, yeah, Ford Fusion has been on my list, was 3 minutes late in winning one this fall in their contest. Well, you know what, Michelle? You've just won a $100 gift certificate from Whole Foods. If you come up to the front at the end of the presentation, you'll be able to get your gift card. Thank you. But this is all part of the way that we're saying thank you to the fans, because look, if we are spending the time sharing our stories, it's not enough to just expect people to go and be our megaphone, right? There has to be something in return for them, and we have to make it fun. Speaking of making it fun, that's why we hired Reggie Watts to help us in some of this stuff. You may know Reggie as a Brooklyn performance artist and comedian. This will kind of give you a sense as to what Reggie's all about.
Hi, I'm Reggie Watts, and I'm going to be shrieky, shrieky, creaky, 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 your comment.
Fusion Remix.
Moises, who, as far as we know, lives in the present tense, says, "A car from the future has arrived."
Car from the future has arrived. Car from the future has arrived. Car from the future has arrived. Car from the future, 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 future of the car, future of the car.
Thanks. I think if we could bring Reggie, Doug, and Ryan Seacrest together for one video, I think that would be amazing. So these are just more examples, and we could sit here all day and take you through some of the other videos, but you got to check it out on your own. YouTube.com/Ford Fusion. We've got all sorts of stuff, including a really fun setup we did in Austin at the end of the summer. We're interested in having a little more fun here, so we got a few more prizes to give out. It looks like Angie Newton says, Kev and I must love Ford. We have his and hers black Ford Fiestas, great cars. Well, Angie, you come on down later. You pick up a gift down here. We've got some water bottles, some chamois, some other things you can choose from. Thanks very much for that. Joe Manna says, I think I've got the best seat in the house. I kind of have a man crush on Scott Monty. I didn't expect that one. You want the car? No. No. Hey, if I had it in my power, I'd give one away, believe me. Joe, come on down and get one of your prizes. Justin Gardner, with an Instagram pic, no less, says, the new Ford Fusion, yeah, it's a hybrid. Got any problem with that? We've got another $100 Whole Foods gift card for you, Justin, if you want to come down and grab that at the end of the show. And we've got another one. Adam Prohl, always geeked out to hear Scott speak. Great speaker, and this classic Mustang owner has long loved Ford. We'll give you another one of our prizes down here. Holy moly, there's more. Gail Robbins, she must have known I was going to say this. Scott Monty, you get a car. You get a car. You get a car. No, never mind. That was Oprah. I'll tell you what, Gail, if you want to actually get a water bottle down here, that'll be for you. And Shashi B. Where's Shashi B? There he is, right there. Big fan, big fan. I love renting Ford cars for sync. It helps me do Bluetooth seamlessly with my phone like I do with my car at home. Is that good? All right. Thank you. You get yourself a chamois or a water bottle down here too, Shashi. Okay, so the lesson here from Back At You has been for us to celebrate our fans, to take the time to say thank you for the people that are taking the time out of their busy lives, because they could be doing a lot of other things, quite frankly. The fact that they're paying attention to us and that they're speaking on our behalf, they deserve something in return. And whether that's some kind of value in the form of entertainment, some kind of value in terms of a thank you like this, maybe it's a healthy debate online, they deserve our attention and they deserve that kind of interaction. So to just kind of wrap things up here, going full circle, as Jim said, everything we're doing in the social sphere is ultimately about finding smarter ways to interact with our customers. For every day for us that we spend in the marketplace, we're learning new things. We're on the journey just like you are. We want to hear what people have to say. More importantly, we want to create shareable experiences. And that doesn't mean stuff that's only in our best interest. It means stuff that benefits all of us, stuff that makes other people look good, as well as us from time to time. And as I said, we want to give people some kind of value return for what they're doing and showing them that we are listening. by responding, by acknowledging, by integrating their feedback into our products in the future. And without doing all these things, we can't build the products that people want and value, and we certainly can't build relationships, which is what this is really all about. So that's it for the prepared remarks. Happy to take your questions as we just kind of close out here in the next 10 minutes. Nobody's got questions? All right. All right, microphone's right over there. Well, come on, let the man through. While you're doing that, we're going to thank B. Dawson24. It said, didn't realize the 2013 Fusion came in manual transmission. It certainly does, and in yours, you can get a $36 Pandora 1 upgrade. We've got a gift certificate for you down here, B. Dawson24. Thanks so much for that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, if you were a small business owner and had zero budget, and you're in an office in a coffee shop, what would you do? Not to replicate everything you've done, because you have a budget, I understand that, but what would you do, the ideas for small businesses to simply learn from what you've done? What would you do?
Well, I think the first thing you can do as a small business is start by listening. Figure out where your customers are, where the people are that you want to reach, what they're saying about you, what they're saying about your competition. You know, there's lots of free tools out there, whether it's Google Analytics, Google Search, Twitter Search. Now, just giving yourself a baseline for what's being said out there. Ultimately, you're going to have to make some decisions here. You know, you've got advertising to worry about and publicity to worry about. You need to figure out where social fits within all of that. And frankly, maybe it's not right for your business. Maybe it is, but you'll only know by listening and understanding where your customers are, where they want to interact with you, and how you then need to deploy resources to support that. We'll go over here.
Patricia Fripp from San Francisco. On behalf of my friends who are here from the National Speakers Association, may I say incredible presentation.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My question is,
Oh, that wasn't it? Oh.
My question is, do you have friends in other companies in corporate America who come to you for advice on how they can organize their campaigns to match your success?
All the time. I think what we're doing at the corporate level, because a lot of us, we're paving the road behind us. There's no roadmap for this, and we're using each other for different reasons. You know, we've got you know, some great work with the American Express Small Business Network, for example. They do a really great job with their forum. They do things that we couldn't even begin to grasp, right? And maybe we do things with, you know, branded content that others are looking forward to. But I think if we look for the best practitioners, not only within our own industry, but outside of our industry, that's what we try to do at Ford, to make what's right for our customers. That's going to give them the best experience possible.
Okay,
so,
thank you.
We'll go over here.
Hi, Sarah Miner from Connecticut Independent Media Network.
I'm from Connecticut. Thank you.
The 860 or the 203? I'm just kidding. So I'm wondering what, as a national brand, you do to integrate yourself locally, like instead of doing like the YouTube and the more major campaigns. And if you'd like to have a speed date with me in about 20 minutes.
Whoa. Don't tell my wife. Oh, not that kind of speed date. I got it. Well, what we do, and we do this at the local level, because you know it's all well and good to do these national-based campaigns, but where people are having experiences is on that local level, at the dealership, at the people they interact with face-to-face. And we've got grassroots PR teams that work hand in hand with dealerships and local distributors and whatnot. We do work with social media clubs all throughout the country, all around the world, quite frankly, where we can actually go into local markets and do events and do sit-downs where people can actually get up close and personal and have specific events or intimate opportunities to be able to see the vehicles, ask questions of the executives, etc. So we need to realize that it's not just about blasting stuff out at the national level, but it is really having that conversation with individuals at the local level too. Okay? And how about a water bottle for that nice lady? Yes, sir.
Brian Dodd from Bakersfield, California. I was curious why you decided to reinvent the Ford Focus rather than giving the new car a new name, and if you feel that was a good way to go about it.
We've actually experienced this with a number of vehicles. The Taurus, we actually brought back the Taurus name when Alan Mulally found out they phased it out. The Explorer, which had a little bit of a reputational problem at one point. The Focus, as you say. There's so much brand equity that's built up in a number of these vehicles, and particularly with the Focus. It was an international vehicle. It wasn't just here in the United States that it had that name. And quite frankly, it was actually really well respected in Europe, right? So we figured if we could take those principles and apply them here and just create more awareness and just get the vehicles out there so people could see them on the street and experience those vehicles themselves, that they would. And it proved itself out because last year, the Ford Focus was actually the largest selling car globally, bar none.
Cool. Thank you.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Hi, Scott. My name is Bobby from San Francisco.
Hey, Bobby.
Really enjoyed the presentation. Particularly was interested when you were talking about how important it is to get other people to talk about your brand and share your brand story. And you mentioned building out an influencer relationship management platform.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk about like what that means to Ford and like what some of the metrics and features will be for that?
Sure. And I'll be very blunt with you about it. We are working with a group called Blue State Digital, which was actually responsible for the success of the Obama campaign, at least the first time around. I'm not clear how much they were involved the second time around, but I know they understand political advocacy. And if you take the notion of political advocacy and you apply it to what we're trying to do at a corporate and product level, the principles are the same. It's about giving people content that resonates with them, seeing the actions that they take, and then creating a ladder effect where we can track what they've done and what they've read and what they've shared, and then move them to the next level. Right? So it's a database that actually tells us who they are, what they're doing, what their potential influence is, all that stuff that Cheney shared this morning, taking those principles and applying it to a limited number of people. I want to target about 2,500 out of the gate, and then trying to build more serious relationships rather than just these one-offs that we seem to get, and building some real infrastructure around it. So that's actually going to launch in March or so stay tuned for that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Last question. We're running out of time. Thank you. One more.
Hi, my name is Marika Hansel. I'm with Branding Personality. I
up.
work with Kathy Cruz, who's we do social media for car dealerships. So we come across dealerships a lot. And my question to you is, you say a lot about relationships, but frankly, a lot of dealerships are struggling and have been struggling for years to manage those relationships with the community. Mm-hmm. How do you help them, and how do you see them evolve?
The dealerships are probably the most challenging part of our business because we don't own any of them. They are all independently owned and operated. So we can't tell them what to do. We can simply supply them with best practices, which we do. We can supply them with training manuals, training sessions. We give them a fire hose feed of all of our corporate social media accounts, so they can see the tweets, the Facebook updates, et cetera, and then take those and adapt them at their own level. And then we have a group that's actually called Ford Direct that works with groups of regional dealerships to help them build out some of these programs, because it's very time intensive, as you know, for an individual dealer who's got 1,000 other things to do. But when we've taught the dealers for the last decade or last 2 decades that the internet is this marvelous lead generation machine, and they simply take that thinking and they apply it to social, it doesn't work. It's not about selling to people on social. It really is about relationship building. So helping them to understand that fundamental, and helping, quite frankly, just by leading by example, that gets us a lot of success with some of our dealers. Not all of them are convinced yet. I had a guy, I visited a dealership in central Pennsylvania. He said, you know, I wrote 4 blog posts, I didn't sell 1 car, so I quit. I said, interesting. How many cars did you sell from that banner flying behind that plane that I saw coming overhead as I walked into the dealership, right? So it's just helping them to understand and put in context this new space and what it's good for and what it might not be so good for. So we got a couple of more prizes that we want to give out. Karen Wilson says, just drove my C-Max to Florida from Canada, and I loved it. Karen, we've got some gifts for you down here if you want to come down. P.F. Wilson says, my first car was a Ford. It was a Pinto. Don't worry, I loved it. Well, we loved the Pinto at one time, too. Couple more. Daniel J. Lewis said, Ford gets it, except for making their own hashtag. Understand, Back At You is not a unique hashtag, but it's one that we thought really kind of espoused the campaign here, so we did go with it. Daniel, we've got a nice gift for you down here. And finally, Sam Fiorella says, are you the voice of Doug the Puppet? No, I couldn't get that gig. I auditioned for it, but it didn't work out, so. That's it for our remarks here. Thank you, everyone, for your attention. Appreciate you staying with us. Take care.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Dave.